Welcome to For the Record, a podcast from the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus, hosted by Senator Brian Pettyjohn, Chief of Staff Deanna Killen, and Communications Director Matt Revel. This is For the Record.
Game over.
Yeah, Eric messes up our group text with his green bubbles.
Yeah.
So, you're father of four with a stay-at-home wife. You've got to find ways to cut. And one of the things we had to do is we first went flip phones, Androids, when they came on board, and I just stayed with it because that in my mind meant mine is cheaper.
Right.
That's how I've stayed with the Android for so long. But it's...
So you're open to switching?
Buddy, I'm open to it now. It is what it is.
You just
I want to
need
be a part of the party.
Well, you need something that's better at productivity than what you have now. And you're kind of the speed bump when it comes to communicating with the entire caucus.
I know. I send these really cool things that is supposed to show up in the text message, and all we get is just a little link.
Yeah.
Because of Eric's phone.
Is that right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah.
Who knew?
We did. Literally everybody.
It's like we always say, if you don't know, it doesn't bother you. And for me, I've been happy as heck.
In your defense, for the longest time, Senator Richardson's was green bubbles because even though he has an iPhone,
he had iMessage.
He had iMessage off, and I don't know how it got turned off, but finally one day, I was like, let me see this thing. Mm-hmm. Let me see this.
Yeah. Anybody trying to reach me right now, it's dead in the water.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
it makes noise. It made noise on the floor again.
It's going to be a mess. I can only imagine what it looks like. Reminds me, I haven't been on email since I got here. I just can't imagine it's 6 feet of snow out there right now.
Because I know just me alone, I think I've sent you 4 today.
That's unbelievable. Yeah.
I know. He come by my office. I'm like, did you get my text?
Nope.
Like, I'm not getting anybody's text.
It's actually kind of cool, if you think about it.
Well,
it's like that day where Verizon was down, and for most of us, and
such a peaceful day.
We weren't getting anything, which was nice. No phone calls, no text messages. It was like the old days.
So my youngest son, we took him to Cooperstown. I was coaching the travel ball team. We went to Cooperstown. Mm-hmm. And it's like a 6-day excursion.
Right.
The very first day we're there, I break my phone.
Oh
no.
Right? And so
Jen
it's a double-edged sword. Right? No, so they were all there, right?
Okay.
We're in the dorms, though. I'm in the dorms with the team, and they're out in the hotels, whatever. But the reality is, once you realize you're out of options, it's kind of calming. It's it is what it is. No phone for me. Let's move it on. It was like 5 days of just screw it.
Nice. So news broke that Senator Nancy Cook, and she was she was a force of nature in this building.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Passed away at 90 years old. I hadn't known that she was sick. I did notice that she hadn't been in since we came back. But I guess she kind of failed pretty rapidly, there closer to the end. But I tell you, when I was in this building, when I was on town council, when I was mayor, between her and Bob Venables and Thurman and, that knowledge and just being able to sit down and, they kind of treated me like their kid, especially Nancy. Come here. I want to talk to you about what you want for Georgetown. And she would always have a lot of really good advice. Mm-hmm. And she was one that she knew so much. She knew so much about how this building. I mean, she was elected in 1974.
Yeah, that year I was born. Yeah.
And so just the knowledge that she had. When I came in here as just somebody that really didn't know anything about this building. It was incredible just what I was able to pick up from her. And then when I got elected here into the Senate, just, being able to, her grabbing me by my elbow and pulling me aside and wanting to talk to me about something or saying, Brian, you guys did good today. We really appreciate, what your guys are doing. It was, she was a force of nature. She was tough as nails.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And at the same time, she would break that smile or crack a joke or do something just to make you laugh and just show that humanity of her. So, she's definitely going to be missed. I was lucky. I got a really nice picture. Kim Gomes, one of our lobbyists, Nancy and I were sitting together at the end of January, talking out here on the...
That was a good picture.
Yeah, on one of the on the couches, and Kim saw that. She's like, "Oh, I got to take a picture of you guys." And it's just, I'm definitely going to miss that lady here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just echo the same thoughts. Maybe shorten it up to the point of this, man. She is just a true legend around here. I sit on the floor, a first ballot, unanimous pick, Hall of Famer type of individual. And arguably, you could argue, I mean, Ruth Ann Minner clearly is at that level too, but the most powerful, if not one of the most, if not the most powerful female legislator, maybe even legislator in general. Forget that. When you chair the bond and then you can chair the JFC, I mean, you got a lot of juice, and she did it well.
She did.
And later in life, I guess she got out in 210. I think it was 210.
Right.
So 74 to 210. Her institutional knowledge never wavered, and her ability to apply it to real world was impressive as heck. Up until just, as you said, just a month ago. Yeah. So God bless Nancy. She was a wonderful lady.
And the family, Tommy,
keeping them all in our prayers.
Yep.
Yep. So we had a pretty good week this week. We had 5 bills that were signed out of committee. I think that's a record for us. So we had Senator Buckson.
We're producing quality legislation.
That's
here.
right.
Let's go.
That's right.
Shout out Christy Wright, policy director.
Well,
shout it out
Christy.
again.
And also amazing work, of course, of our senators.
Yeah.
So.
Well, nothing happens without good communication, too. So the comms team is great. And, of course, we got a good chief of staff that keeps everybody in line.
I was wondering if anybody was going
Yeah,
to
she's
mention
on.
that.
Yeah,
I haven't seen her lately.
Yeah.
Must be busy. I don't know what the hell.
I know. You haven't gotten a text from her all day.
Got a text anywhere, but no, absolutely. I mean, you really have to acknowledge that. I mean, for me personally, I am organized, disorganized is what I say, or you can reverse it, disorganized, organized, but it's mainly because of a couple key players around here. Then looking at a couple of them, and there's a couple in this room that without them, this boat would be going under.
You are mayhem sometimes.
It is what it is. It is what it is.
So your 2 military compacts that we talked about last week, the one for respiratory care and cosmetology, they were both signed out, and also your military pensions from taxable income.
Yes.
That was assigned to finance.
Yeah.
Pettyjohn, your court reminders pilot program was signed out. If you want to talk a little bit about that's a good one.
Yeah. So, my comments in the committee today were pretty much, on the line of, look, you get a text reminder for every kind of appointment that's out there right now. Doctor's appointments, your exterminators coming, your kids have, pictures at baseball, for Little League, this weekend, reminder to, bring your uniforms or, wash the uniforms. You get all these text reminders for everything now, reservations at your restaurant. But with something that you could end up, stopped and have a warrant out against you, there's no real good way for that reminder to go out. And, our folks over at Delgis, they're great people. They're the ones that make the technology work behind the criminal justice system here in Delaware. They already had a program purchased to send out text messages.
Oh, okay.
They had bought it. They had the license for it. They just been wanting to use it for something. So I was talking to them about, technically what could happen. They're like, this is a great idea. So what will happen if you've got a mandatory appearance or if you've got a court appearance in JP court? So this is a pilot program. If you've got a court appearance in JP court, you're going to get a text reminder a week before your court date and then the day before your court date. There's really good case studies out there from other states that show, they can cut these warrants and everything, these missed court dates by, anywhere from 30 to 50%.
Yeah.
And that takes a whole lot of load off the courts as well. Because, look, our folks at JP court, they're the front line.
Yeah.
They are packed full. They do a lot of work there. So if we can get some of those, return capias hearings back and, cut them out and get people there into the court when they need to be on the first time, that's going to be better for everybody.
Yeah,
kudos. It's a really, if it applies itself the way it's being described and actually begins to work, and I think it will. Heck, I got a text reminder from my dentist.
Yeah.
Say, hey, don't forget, it's tomorrow.
Yeah.
Right? I get one a week before, and I could say that about other things. And why do they do that? Because it works.
Yeah.
It absolutely
It
works. So that's kudos to you, and I hope we can expand it further because, maybe there are some folks that are willfully and intentionally missing, but there's quite a few that just
forget.
Just say, man, life gets busy. It is what it
Especially
is.
the older you get. If I don't write it down or if I don't get a reminder, I do forget.
Yeah, I will say this real quick, and then to folks listening, especially in the law enforcement folks, it brings me to a conversation I have in inviting folks maybe to get up with us. In this push for legislation to essentially be cashless bail or a no fine violation type thing, right? Yeah. Or a fine that basically says if you challenge it, right? If you say to the police officer upon a stop, I'm going to challenge it in court. The officer writes you a ticket. It's up to you to notify the courts. Right? Here's the challenge. If you don't notify the courts, there's no triggering mechanism, right? So if you get another ticket, you still have the existing ticket. And there's no sort of transaction that it forces the officer to then say there's a warrant out for you because of that. But I say that to say this is true in quite a few spaces where we're desiring not to penalize through a monetary sum. But if you don't do that, then what are we doing?
Yeah, well, there's still got to be accountability.
We're saying there's not. It looks like there's not. Yeah. Right? And that's a shame. I had a lady call me just the other day. She had her household. She bought a house from a contractor right here in my district. Bought a house. It's an 18-year-old female. Life savings, moves back in. Her husband passes away. She buys down the road from her daughter. $130,000 transaction. The contractor took the money. The courts, Cannon PD, well, one of the PDs, Cannon, doesn't matter, brought him back in 4 different times. That individual's been released. 4 different times and failed to return. And now what? Now they're gone.
Right.
Yeah.
Now they're gone. It's crazy. Yeah. And that's something we got to do differently over here. The courts are only following the rules that they've been allowed to follow, but I think we got to change that.
Yeah, it's something we can look into.
Definitely.
Senator Lawson, one of his bills that was signed out of committee today, would require sperm and egg banks and fertility clinics to collect and keep information about donors, specifically including medical history. This actually came to him from his great niece, I think.
Yes. Yep.
Yeah, she's 8th grader. She did a great job today telling her story. She had
really
a
did.
medical incident, almost died, and I guess all of this could have been avoided because her mother was the product of an egg or sperm donor, one or the other.
Right, yeah, her mother was donor conceived.
Yeah,
right.
donor conceived. So as a result of that, they didn't have her mother's family medical history. So that's what this does. It just allows that to kind of avoid, this type of incidents in the future.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Did you want to say anything about that, Bill?
No, I mean, it's a great piece of legislation. I know Senator Lawson received a great deal of positive feedback from, folks who also were donor conceived. And, as he stated when we were putting his press release and stuff together, he said, this could have been avoided.
Yeah.
They had access to that medical records. And I can't imagine that there's definitely more cases out there that we haven't heard of. So, hopefully, this helps rectify all that. Yep.
And it's more impactful when you have a personal story like that.
It is.
So both, she testified along with her mother. They both testified. HB 277 was in committee today, Senate Corrections and Public Safety. This is a really good bill sponsored by Rep. Neal and Senator Cruz. Creates a blue envelope program, which is right here. Yeah. I guess you received this in committee today?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, so what this does is the envelope holds important documents like license, registration, insurance, and it alerts police that the driver has a disability of some type. Yeah. So it includes, I guess special instructions for whatever might be needed. Which is a really good idea. That's an excellent idea.
Yeah, on the back of the envelope, it's got the name, emergency contact, and phone number for somebody. If the police need to contact somebody, but it's got the check boxes here. My emergency care plan's in the envelope. What my disability is. Deaf or hard of hearing, Tourette's, autistic, other. See notes. My disability affects vision, communication, mobility. Other. I use interpreter, mobility aids, assistive technology. So, it kind of gives the officer, especially if, they're coming up to a vehicle. Law enforcement doesn't know what they're getting into when they come up to a vehicle. So if this is, the stop happens, this is on their dashboard, they know, they see this, are like, okay, now I need to, I know that this person has a disability. I'm going to be able to see what that disability is so that I'm able to make this interaction better for everybody.
Right, and I'm sure it's going to help with communication or lack of
100%.
communication between the
100%.
driver. Now you were in committee. I didn't listen in on this one. Is that what they want them to do? Is keep it in the windshield?
Yes. Keep it, but when the officer comes,
Gotcha.
present this to them, right away, just so that the officer, has all the information in one place and then knows, what they're dealing with this disability, so they're able to have that contact go a lot better.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's a really good idea.
Good stuff.
All right, another bill we have that has not been released yet, so we don't have a number, but this bill actually is sponsored by Rep. Neal in the House and Senator Hawker, so it's a bipartisan bill they've been working on together for a while. And it's asking DOE, Department of Education, to study ways that homeschool students can participate on public school sports teams. And I know you've talked about this in the past, and I think you've had a call, haven't you, from people who...
Playing on the teams or using the facilities? Because
playing on the teams.
So that's the bill that I was looking at.
Yes,
running.
playing on the teams.
And originally, that bill was actually just focused on utilization of the facilities, which was a challenge. I worked at putting that legislation together. Here's the rub. Right, the rub is, in order for the homeschool student to be able to participate on a DIAA, Delaware Interscholastic Athletic Association team, they've got to meet certain criteria, which is attendance and academic standing. And the challenge in Delaware is that we are very lenient in our homeschool policies.
Right.
So it's very difficult to create regulation that proves that Johnny Smith, who wants to play basketball for CR, has actually been attending on a regular basis, and they are reporting that, and that Johnny actually has a passing marking period grade, first marking period, second and third.
Right, because homeschool parents aren't required
to
submit grades to the Department of Education, only an attendance record, and that's it.
And you have to do that. In fairness, I want the homeschoolers to be able to play. That's why I looked into it. But what they told me was they don't, and rightfully so, many of them don't want the look-in. They want the freedom to teach their child in a homeschool environment the way they see fit, and that's fine. But if you want to do that, that's fine. If you want to then say, but I want my son or daughter to play on the soccer team, every child on that team has to meet certain standards. They got to be in school the day of the event. They got to be in good standing academically, right? All those things have to happen. So how do we do that in the homeschool setting?
Right.
That's the answer that has to be answered before you run a bill out there and say,
well, this here, that's what this is doing, because it's so complex, which we found out when we talked about it. We really can't create a bill that makes them do it. What this is going to do is DOE is going to sit down. They're going to study this, bring in charters, which I don't know. I didn't really agree with the charters being added, but the House sponsor wanted them in there to be included around the table. But and then the school districts, and they'll have to sit down and see. They might not be able to make it work. That may be what the study ends up determining, is we can't do this.
They can make it. They can make it work. I mean, again, here's let me say real quick.
Where there's a will, there's a way.
The districts can do it. They can already do it. You have the ability, if you're homeschooling your daughter right now, to apply to the district, who then elevates it to DIA. DIA and the district haven't really consummated a deal to make that work. Right. The main reason why is because most times the individual homeschoolers are lacking the ability to verify what needs to be verified, or more importantly, they don't want that. Right. When I offered it up and said the districts can do it, DIA is willing to do it, all we got to do is work with you to figure it out, and they said, well, we don't want that level of scrutiny.
Right.
So that's the rub.
Right. So we'll see what happens here. I know that Rep. Neal, I believe, homeschools at least one of her children. It might be more. So I think that was she kind of took the lead on this. So we'll see what happens. It hasn't even been sent around for co-sponsorship yet.
And I hope that they can expand that too, not just to sports, but some of the extracurricular.
Yeah, it actually does include that. It includes that. Yeah. Okay. Because I was talking with a mother from my church, and her sister lives in PA, and that's what she said. She's like, in Pennsylvania, my nieces and nephews, they participate in the plays and things that the schools have.
Yeah.
But what does PA do as far as regulations?
Exactly.
They have regulations applied to homeschools that are far more intrusive than Delaware. Good or bad, they just do.
Yeah. Right. Agreed. That's true.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens there. We'll keep everyone posted on on
and what number
how that
that
shakes
is
out.
and how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think a lot of people would be interested in that. And I do know, I've talked with a lot of homeschool mothers over the years because we've looked into a lot of different things for homeschools. And a lot of the mothers who are really doing it right, they are like, we're okay to a little bit more. We don't want too much. We don't want them to say what kind of curriculum we have to teach. But they're okay with saying, okay, we should be held accountable academically for how our kids are performing.
Right.
So we'll see what they come up with, and they'll have recommendations that'll come out of that study.
Okay.
Two bills that were in House Education today. We've heard about these before. HB 245, which was Representative Smith and Senator Buckson, and HS 1, which is a substitute bill for HB 246, which is Shoup and Buckson. You hear the sponsor from both those.
You.
Both of these bills were tabled in committee today. And it's kind of, I guess it depends on where you stand on it. I think it's got mixed reviews. The one that Smith introduced removes the school's ability for after a reassessment where the schools can take up to 10%, do that 10% increase. It removes it completely unless the school can show that they're going to be taking a loss. And if that's the case, then they can do the 10%. Shoup's bill
Which
did
they shouldn't.
Yeah.
By the statute, they're supposed to be getting the same amount of money. They set the tax rate so that they're getting the same amount of money if the reassessment hadn't happened.
Right.
So they shouldn't be operating at a loss. But go ahead.
Right,
Yeah, what's the
exactly. And the other one for Shoup, which I think is a good compromise, but again, they still tabled it. It removes that 10%, but it would allow for a 2% increase over a 5-year period. And again, they would have to show that there's a loss that would need to be recovered. And of course, the majority of actually everyone that spoke was, did not support them, but they were all from the school district and DSEA. I think what I fear with this, and maybe this is the future of school funding, I don't know. I think if this is something that's going to happen after every 5 years after a reassessment, that all schools are going to increase 10%, there's not going to be a referendum anymore.
Right.
So I don't know. Maybe this is a better system. I don't know. I don't know if they'll be able to get enough money doing it this way, but there is an issue right now getting referendums passed.
Right.
And I personally think
operating and capital.
exactly. I think we need to have a whole new system for the way we fund our schools. That's just how I think. And I don't know even where to start with that.
Well, the problem with that is we are going to have a new way of funding our schools. It's going to come through the Public Funding Commission that's meeting and been meeting for the last year and a half. I serve on it, and I've consistently reminded these folks that the work is just, and I appreciate it, but I don't care how hard you're working. At the end of that, if it's going to require $600 million in taxpayer money to make it work, where is that coming from?
And you asked that.
Do that?
You asked that in committee. And what did Senator Sturgeon say?
And to her credit, when pressed, she will respond, and she did. She simply said, yeah, we're going to need to raise revenues, which is raise taxes.
Exactly.
And how do you raise taxes or how do you raise revenues was my question to that. And she said there's a myriad of things you can do, all similar to what you see in some of these bigger cities where they're looking at millionaires' taxes and they're looking at increasing corporate taxes and they're looking at increasing personal income taxes on a tiered assessment and all the money grabs that you would expect. And they're also looking, and likely to have it approved in the commission's recommendations, is getting away from the referendums that include operational. So basically, the school boards have the authority to do exactly kind of what the two bills would do, which is you can have an increase as long as there's an operational deficit. But these would basically say you get an operational deficit, you get an operational increase just based on whatever the matrix, whatever it is, current state of inflation, which is dangerous. Or, maybe CPI or something along those lines.
Well, and, they could also create an operational deficit to justify.
And that's true with all that. So you got to be careful with all that. And so that's, that's the rub on it when you say there's school funding and what we need to do and throw it at. Yeah, the reality is, and this is a real rub, other than the state, how does the state pays for, let's say, 65, 70%. Let's just say 65% of the funds that, go to the school district come through the state primarily. And where's that come through? It's personal income tax primarily. You could say corporate and others, but it's all those the big four. The challenge is the remainder of it gets made up through a select group of property owners. And that's a select group. When you look at a school district and you look at the only ones paying locally are the owners of property. Well, that's not necessarily your primary household sending students to school. Right? So now I understand the merits because you're building equity in your home and value, and it's part of your civic duty and all that. But the reality is, the way schools are being increased in cost, I don't think we can keep up with it. I don't think the current way we do it is going to work unless you manage the cost better.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Is Delaware an outlier in terms of the referendum system? Like, do we have any sense of ever any other jurisdictions do it?
Yes, we are not an outlier. We're not unique, although we are.
There's a hodgepodge out there.
There's a group that does it, but there's what he just said, a hodgepodge of individuals. Now, what we are unique in is the lack of county schools. Right. We're not the only ones, but we're very, limited in who actually does that. Remember that most of them you have like a county government funding a school district, which includes, 7 high schools, or maybe more. Right. We're not doing that. Delaware is the primary funder of it, so that's why I say it's not the way it's working.
It's an economy of scale, really. Delaware.
True.
And Delaware's different. I mean, you've got other states that have county health departments, county
Exactly.
this, county that.
County sheriffs.
County sheriffs,
actually,
which I wouldn't necessarily mind. But, a lot of them are county strong, whereas in Delaware, I mean, if we did that, it would just be a duplication into a lot of efforts. And it's a lot more cost effective to have the state handle some of those things.
Yeah. But what you'd have right now, if you're in Kent County, the county tax bill that you have, the county side of it is exceptionally small. You might be shocked. There might be $400 for the year, something along those lines. If you change the system and make Kent County responsible for funding the schools, they would also be responsible for somewhat managing some of those, but they would apply the assessments to the property tax, right? Alleviating the state of the need to do such a large number, right? Which would kind of eliminate some of the referendums that you have. Because the state would still have to participate in the capital costs. We're getting downhill on that. It's weeded, but we got ourselves a mess. And more money right now is not the cure-all. I keep telling them that when they say this $200, $600 million, it is not the jewel that fixes things. Teachers right now are demanding accountability. They're demanding respect in the classroom from both the students they teach, the parents they interact with, and the administration that governs them, oversees them. They're demanding those types of things. They want control of a classroom. You empower educators to do that, and you'll see dramatic improvements. But without those key ingredients, we're going to keep throwing good money after bad, looking for a different result. And I'll get off the soapbox after this one. When we add regulations on top of bad regulations designed to fix the bad ones, all you're doing is piling on. We should be looking at less is more, going back to the basics and encouraging the teachers, the administration, because the administration isn't always the bad guy. They're dealing with legislative hand-downs and mandates or federal policies that are ineffective. We got to get the locals back in control and then hold them accountable, and they'll welcome that.
Yeah, Mark Steele, the superintendent for the Indian River School District.
He's board president.
Oh, board president. That's right. He was superintendent for years. That's still in my head.
Smart guy.
He's board president now, but he did a survey of the schools and basically was asking teachers, different questions, and that was one of the main things that they came back with was behavior, school behavior, and again, all we're focused on here is pay. And you did try to address behavior by doing that resolution where we would have had a group sit down, a task force, sit down and study that, and of course that was taken by someone else. And I don't feel like the task force was super effective because of that. It's too.
What it did do,
got watered down.
For sure.
Yeah.
What it did do in a back and forth banner where I said to him, I don't want to hear from you guys. One of the things in my task force resolution that was different was I wanted the educators. And we didn't get that in that large group. I said, we're not going to hear from them unless we ask them. And the union actually was directed and went out and did that massive survey. They had a response back from over 1,000 union members. And it created data that was overwhelming in that space.
Is that what it said?
It said 86% of teachers feel sometimes, they're almost afraid of the classroom, or they're worried about the interactions and the lack of support and discipline in schools. All of those things, they identified it very clearly. But then in the recommendations, they wanted 2 things, really. They didn't say we need more money in those things. They said we need options for alternative placement, whether it's on-site or it's off-site. We need the ability to expand those options so that children that are not able to manage themselves have effective and robust schooling and treatment, but it doesn't include returning to the classroom immediately. And that was really big. What they said, and the other part of it was just accountability. They want to feel supported, you know?
I've said for a long time what's going on in our schools is 100% what we're doing here in Dover.
Yep, 100%.
We have wonderful teachers, and we've
got students that really want to learn. But they get caught up in a lot of the politics of what happens here in this building.
That's the key. You ask the school district themselves, the principals, whomever. Regrettably, these are children. We're talking about 5% of the schools who are children, but they're also disrupting the learning process for the other children.
Exactly.
We
cater to the ones who are misbehaving.
So I'm not asking us to jettison them. I'm not saying you're going. I'm saying we are going to effectively remove you from that environment. We're going to place you here, and we're going to help you.
They've
you're not going back here anymore.
They've got to be dealt with
and kids,
out of that classroom.
Heck yes.
Yeah.
And kids appreciate that structure. They 100% do.
Crave it.
Yes.
Crave it.
Well, I was going to say, going back to the financial aspect of it, it wasn't that long ago Department of Education crossed $1 billion in funding.
2011, maybe, is that right?
I think it was later than that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Wow.
And it's up to what now?
So 2.4 or 2.7, depending on who you're talking to. But the more important question is, and I asked it at JFC, when do we realistically expect to be $3 billion? Yeah.
And people wouldn't care as much if we had really good results.
Exactly.
But we don't. What do we have to show for this bloated budget? You know, really bad test scores.
Yeah.
You know, it's, I don't know. Well, a lot of work needs to be done there.
Actually, I did want to touch on something really
Touch
quick.
on it.
When you mentioned the test scores, Senator Buckson, I know you were leading an initiative about maybe revisiting the SATs and how that's measured in terms of school performance and stuff. I know we're working on a op-ed that will be done shortly.
We need to get that out there. It's my fault. I appreciate you bringing that up. It's important for folks, right? The first
wasn't throwing you under the bus. I'm just,
you're good, baby.
throwing the teaser out there.
And I mean, look, that's great. I mean, that's something that, talking to folks at SREB, to other legislators, and, we tell them what we're doing in here in Delaware, they kind of look at us like we got three heads. They're like, why would you ever want to do that? And look, a lot of people will say, when it was proposed, when we passed it, a lot of people thought it was a good idea.
Sure.
They thought we would be able to bifurcate the Saturday test takers from the mass group of test takers, and we'd be able to have College Board do some work, and that didn't happen. So, Senator Sokola mentioned it today in executive when he was talking to Dr. Marinucci. So I think there's support for saying, okay, guys, that was a great experiment. Yeah. It was a great idea. It didn't work. Let's do something else.
I agree. Yeah. And Michelle Marinucci, what a great pick. Glad to see it.
But phenomenal pick.
Yeah.
Yes, she was a pick she was appointed today for State Board of Education. This week, yes.
Has a real good grasp of things and kind of like-minded. That's why I really like. I am settled on where she is in education, so I'm super excited about her leadership there. But the SAT is rather important because, if you look at it just matter of fact, you say, well, what's wrong with the SAT? Well, the biggest problem we have, the SAT is a standardized test primarily used for college entrance, right? So that's a problem because the majority of students, a lot of them aren't going to college. We know that. But forget that. The worst part you have is that you are paying for a test that all juniors in the state of Delaware have to take, right? Except for a very small percent of those exempted. They have to sit for an exam. If you've ever taken it, it is mind-numbing if you're not motivated. And here's the problem.
Even if you are motivated, it's mind-numbing.
The majority of those kids, they recognize they're not going to college. They don't want to go to college. Or more specifically, they're going to a college that doesn't require an SAT anymore.
More and more.
And so because of that, they're pencil whipping the test. They sit down, they circle it in, and then they leave. We grade that, and we use that score against us. So that's why I say get rid of the SAT, because it is not an accurate reflection of how our kids are doing doing post-secondary, how they did during their high school career, their academic career, because it's kind of the final test. And there's other ways to do that, and I think that's really what's important. Look, if you want to fix things, it's got to start in the elementary. It's got to start in kindergarten. We go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, whenever you say that, I think of Mississippi, what they did.
See that?
Yeah. I mean, they made that decision several years ago that going from 4th grade to 5th grade, if you do not meet minimum standards, then they will not let you go. They will not advance you. There was no social promotion after that.
That's how it was.
Insane
when we were in
idea.
school.
Yeah, and look,
Right.
you know, it makes sense because that's the transition from learning to read to reading to learn. And if you can't make that transition effectively, there's no way you're going to be behind the rest of your life if you don't have that reading comprehension. Now, they just didn't say, "Well, sorry, Johnny, you know, you didn't make the cut. You know, you're going to be stuck in 4th grade forever."
Right.
I mean, they made the investment in, you know, in that early childhood literacy. They made investments when children were showing that they weren't going to be making those standards. You know, they made those investments to get those children up to there. And it has made Mississippi from the bottom of the barrel, you know, the bottom state. And everybody was thank God for Mississippi because, you know, we're not lowest. We can't be the lowest to up to the top third in the United States. Yeah. So, I mean, that was a decision that they made. They made the investment, and it has really gotten a lot of results, a lot of positive results from doing that. So.
This might be an education podcast, but you can't sleep on what you just said and the importance of it. When I said you got to go back to elementary, starting in kindergarten, when you talk about that, people are going to say you want kids to be held back and failed. And absolutely not, right? We have the resources available to identify that either have a disability or just need to be given more work in order to catch up, right? But moving them forward is harmful, and we know that, right? So that's a big one. Yeah. In that line of thinking, when we got rid of what was then, I called it basics of reading and went to some frontier gibberish stuff that didn't work along with Common Core, we're now back to science of reading. Yeah. I do think science of reading, which again I call basics of reading, is going to show a robust improvement. But one of the things we also got to do, we got to get rid of another ineffective policy where we added what was described as rigor to our classrooms, right? And that sounds really good, but the only thing you did, in essence, you took a 4th grade curriculum and pushed it to 3rd. You took a 3rd grade, moved it to 2nd, moved it to 1st moved to kindergarten. And what you have now is very young 7-year-olds in a 2nd grade class combined with very old 7-year-olds in a 2nd grade class. And if you're an educator right now, you know exactly what I mean. And the challenge with that is the old ones are having trouble with that rigor. Now you've got a brand new 7-year-old really trying to play catch up. And all you do is get them behind every year. And it ends up being
cumulative. It's cumulative.
It looks like they're developmentally delayed. They're not. They're developmentally appropriate. You're just trying to convince them to read at a level they're not ready for yet. Right. That's so important. And I hope people hear that. Yeah. There's a lot going on. That's some of it.
Yeah.
Education podcast.
Education podcast.
There you go.
Let's keep going.
What else you got?
This is not education related.
Okay.
HB 75, Representative Duke's bill that was in Senate Judiciary this week. Yes. It eliminates the time limit for filing civil lawsuits related to childhood sexual abuse. This bill has been, last couple years has been before the General Assembly, but it looks like it's going to make its way all the way through this year.
And one big key change this year than it had before, it actually suspends or waives sovereign immunity. So if it's a state agency, if it's a local government, county government, that is responsible for that. That would hold them liable. It used to be the sovereign immunity was in place, so you couldn't sue the state of Delaware or a political subdivision of the state of Delaware. Now that's waived in HB 75, so that makes it a stronger bill that increases the accountability that's out there for individuals that commit these absolutely horrible acts against children.
Yeah, and it does protect against false claims, which is, I think, was a concern
was one of the
before.
concerns of one of the attorneys.
Right. It allows the courts to award attorney fees if a case is proven to be knowingly false and malicious.
Yep.
So that's a good protection that's in there. But I agree. If you're, state shouldn't have sovereign immunity if something like this is going on.
No, absolutely
we need to
not.
protect our kids at all costs.
Yep. And from whoever.
Exactly. Regardless of who you are.
Yep.
All right. One of the bills, too, I just kind of have a couple bills here that are, some are old, some are new. HB 133 I had talked about before. Representative Snyder Hall from the Rehoboth area put forth a bill that would allow people who cannot pay court costs, basically would allow them to be waived, which of course. And so the title of this little section here is kind of like the middle class and how they're really taking a hit. they're taking a hit really hard right now because you have your electric energy, all of your energy costs. You have LIHEAP for the low income people. They can take advantage of. And on top of LIHEAP, they also passed HB 116 last year that allowed low-income customers to get 20% discount on their electric bill. And, of course, that is then distributed out to all the other ratepayers.
Yep.
And we have tax
So it's everybody
increase.
else that pays for that.
Everybody
it's your
else.
middle class that's paying for these things.
Right. And I don't understand why you would have LIHEAP that would help low-income people pay for their bills, but then you do this and give them a 20% discount.
So let me ask you something. So if somebody participates in LIHEAP, they still pay into the LIHEAP fund on their bill, right?
I would say so. I would think so.
Yeah.
Just trading dollars.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
$20 at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Doesn't make much sense. I know. And then and we have reassessments. We have City of Wilmington talking about a possible 9.9% increase in
Newcastle
water,
County.
sewer.
17% proposed property.
There's
Property tax
$5
on
million in
Newcastle
the budget
County.
right now to cover decisions made on foregoing fees and fines.
Yeah.
$5 million in Delaware taxpayers' dollars right now.
I mean, that could go for a lot of different places right now.
That could go for the military tax exemption for pensions.
Exactly.
I think the days of low taxes in Delaware are coming to an end. I think we're going to really start to see, and people are
Well,
starting
it's time
to
to
see
pay
it.
the piper for all of these programs that have been out there. All of the decisions have been made over the last couple of decades. Chickens are coming home to roost.
Yep.
Going back to Representative Snyder Hall's bill, what did that do?
It allows judges to waive fines and fees for people who cannot afford them.
Really?
Yes, because
So
there are
they-
some
so they-
mandatory fees right now that cannot be waived in the courts. This will allow them to be waived. So if you get a charge, there are some fines and fees. Then some judges can say, okay, well, you plead guilty to it, we'll waive this, these 3 or 4 things. But there are some of those that are built in that the judge cannot waive. So this will allow the judicial discretion for them to say, all right, well, you're pleading guilty. We're seeing that you're an indigent person, so we're just going to go ahead and wipe the fines and fees away like they never happened.
So what is the lesson learned then? Where is the accountability?
There is none.
I mean that's sincere.
There's
right?
that's the stick.
Yeah. I'm just trying to be sincere about it. What is the
Yeah.
point?
That's the punishment.
this?
That's part of the punishment for doing a crime.
It's this whole mindset. And this also reminded me, Senator Hocker sits on the retail theft crime task force. And I remember listening one day, and this is just the whole mentality that I see here in Dover in general. One of the advocacy groups was speaking, and they said, people don't shoplift things that they don't need. If they're shoplifting, it's things that they really need. I'm like, what are the store
they're
owners
saying
supposed to do? Just
theft
eat the
is-
cost?
They have no idea. For the most part, they're
No idea.
shoplifting things for bartering, and typically it's bartering of drugs.
Yeah.
But it doesn't matter. They're still stealing somebody else's property.
Right,
I mean,
they're
that's the bottom
bartering.
line.
It's not what you said.
Just because you need something and you can't afford it means that you can go out. I need a car. I don't have money for a car. I'm just going to go ahead and steal a car.
Yeah,
That's not how things work.
In the grand scheme of things, that there's a situation, an individual who's in that space, God bless him, and I hope we have resources to help him.
we do.
But the entirety of the problem isn't that singular example.
Right.
It is the others who are taking advantage of it. You see it every day. You see people walking through, and
You see reports of it out the outlets.
Good.
Down in Rehoboth all the time. You have these organized rings that
they're
come
organized.
from us.
Hey.
Yep.
Yeah.
I went to one of these little shops here in Burlington. You had to literally, when you walk in, there's a security guard right there, and they have to let you in with a little band. So they open the band up, you come through, and then they shut it behind you.
Wow.
And the same way on the other side. It's theft.
Yeah.
Theft. You go grocery shopping, you want certain things, you got to get them to unlock.
You got to get it unlocked. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a shame. The world we're in, and it's
pull
primarily
the
because
little ring off the
yeah,
the peg there to get something, whatever it is. It's
because there's
very
no real
inconvenient.
accountability for it anymore.
Yeah.
Right. And when these stores take these types of losses, they have to make up for that somehow.
Sure.
And again, like back to my theme, it's the middle class
middle class
people
that pays
who
for
end
it.
up having to pick up,
increased costs.
exactly for those increased costs from that. But it's just I'm really looking within the next year or two. I'm expecting to see a bill that's gonna make it so shoplifting is allowed if you can prove you really need to do it.
You just gave them an idea, Deanna.
Well, I mean,
idea.
when they were out in California,
They did.
it was 900 or less.
It's crazy.
It's dropped.
And how do you blame the individual? There's two things. Number one, it shows the intelligence and the ability for the individual utilizing the system. They're not checked out,
Right.
right? And it shows the ridiculousness of
Right.
the individual legislators. You think that's going to help them.
Mm-hmm.
You're ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. That's all I have.
Hey, we had it on the floor today with Chairwoman Pinckney.
I was actually getting ready to talk about that.
Well, you talk about it because that was like...
Oh, the...
Are you talking about...
boom.
You're talking about the pet bill, right?
yes.
Yes.
Speak to it. I turned around and said...
I've got to watch
Yeah, we have a
that
video of
tonight.
you. We have a video of you during that interaction.
Yeah, I saw that, yeah.
It's pretty funny.
Putting them glasses on and...
but I'm talking about not when there was almost a fight on the floor, but I'm talking about when she said that she almost was identifying that she sees a lot of bills that are just... Feel good bills.
She literally
just
said
ribbon.
feel good.
And
yeah.
I've said it 1,000 times. These bunch of these ribbon cutting bills, man.
Well, you know what? She's not wrong.
Yeah.
She didn't wrong.
She's not wrong.
Let me give a little context for the people that are listening. Is there was a bill that came forth that would basically allow pet stores that sell pets.
Prohibit.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pet stores. It would prohibit them from selling dogs, cats, because I guess they're saying that they're buying them from puppy mills. Of course, one of the owners stood up and had a very heated back and forth with the bill sponsor and said that that's a lie, that he does not buy from puppy mills. But regardless, Senator Pinckney, I don't agree with her on a lot of things. I did agree with her on her analysis of this bill. This bill does nothing at all to address puppy mills. What does this? It doesn't even make sense. Like she said, it's a feel-good bill, and she's right. Because this will actually, there's
There
a...
you go, Senator Pinckney.
Yeah, there was a bit. There's a.
We give credit where credit's due in here.
This
Yeah.
is a national agenda being pushed into Delaware, and they thought they could steamroll us like they do many times.
Did that bill get signed out of committee? I didn't even pay attention. Do we
I
know?
didn't
I
touch
don't
it.
know.
I doubt it. She's
I
the
mean,
chair.
She
I don't think
just-
it did.
She maybe did the old Thurman Adams Destor veto.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can do that, can you?
You-
No,
no,
she
you-
passed it around. I
Committee.
didn't
She did
sign
pass
it.
it
Just
around.
don't sign
I didn't
around.
sign it, and I didn't count votes. I don't
Okay.
know.
Yeah.
We'll have to take a
So
look.
there is a local business that this will affect, who I think has been operating for like 18 years, they said.
Right.
And this would literally shut them down. And the people who are supporters of the bill are like, well, you just adjust your business model.
Which is
Again,
silly.
it's that lack of understanding of how businesses work. You can't just adjust your business model and do something
So,
else. It's just craziness.
And the reality is, it wasn't to say that we support puppy mills or want
Right,
to see
exactly.
puppies getting
Right.
harmed. It had nothing to do with that. Was what she was saying. It's what I try to articulate later. That's not. We have regulations. You know, you need to get after this with these folks, or the federal level, shut the puppy mill down. But
Right.
you're taking a 15 years. The one of them was 34 years in existence. No clear evidence of wrongdoing, and you're literally going to shut them down.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
what are
just
we doing?
I
here?
know. Yeah.
I could see not allowing anyone else new to come on board. Fine,
Right.
that's fine. But they're here now. Deal with them.
Yeah, you might want to, somewhere in the comments, put a link to that, a couple of those clips there within that meeting. It was... I've got to watch the whole thing. I caught
I'd
a
have
little bit of
popcorn.
it.
I know. I was watching first thing in the morning, and I'm like, man, I did not expect this bill to get so much heat, but it was entertaining to watch.
Yeah.
So, but that's all that I have this week, unless you guys have anything.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, just really quickly, a few episodes ago, we talked about the Board of Electricians and this proposed
Yes.
regulation
Yes.
about low voltage
Yes,
wiring and
yes.
stuff. We actually have not provided an update on
You are
that, Senator
correct.
Pettyjohn, if you could maybe enlighten us on
There's
that.
an update to it?
Yeah,
Well, I
I
mean,
have
but
not-
so I thought they had a...
they did. They had a hearing, and
it
they
was
were going to.
it tabled again further?
Yeah, it's been tabled
basically?
again, yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't remember the last time we talked about it.
I'm
So,
sorry.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so it had been tabled again. They're going to maybe look at, instead of having a licensed electrician do the low voltage work, possibly some type of inspection scheme to make sure that they are installed properly. And by properly, they don't mean the connections are right and it tests out at whatever standards. It just means that they're put up in the ceiling in the right place and not crossing the wrong type of cable and
So more government, and more fees.
more government, more fees
Yeah.
for
That
an
was-
inspector to come out.
That
and,
was
and take a look
probably
at
the
it.
intent the entire time.
Yeah.
That's what I'm thinking.
So that's something that's being discussed right now, but we're still trying to dig down and find out really what's the source of, it seems like a solution in search of a problem right now. So that's why all of your your low voltage contractors, your AV folks, your landscaping people, are saying why now? What's caused this? And we really don't have a good answer to that. Yeah. So still nothing.
It's a way for the
that's a
government
good
to
thing.
make more money. That's what it is.
Yeah.
End of the day, regulation has not gone through.
No, it has not gone through.
Cure's looking for problems.
Yeah.
Happens a lot
We're
around
really
here.
good at that in the government.
We're always
Are we
looking
not?
for problems so we can cut ribbons.
That's right.
It's really what it comes down to, kids.
All right.
So,
We'll have on a 2-week break for spring break, Easter break,
Easter
whatever
break.
you want to call it, and then we'll be back after that. And
Yeah.
we over our break, we are going to be having Brian DiSabatino from the Business Roundtable on,
Okay.
and we will be doing that podcast with him. It'll
Yeah.
be very interesting. So I think that's the only one we'll be doing. Over
He's
break.
actually real. I mean, he's a brilliant guy. He's really cool to talk to.
He
I mean,
is.
he just knows so much about what's going on in the business environment in Delaware, what outside businesses see when they look at Delaware, when they're looking to come into Delaware. He's really tuned into that and has some really good ideas that the state may want to do to get economic development. We've got to bring in economic development into Delaware. We've got to grow that sector. Otherwise, everything we've been talking about today, everything's going to fall on residents.
Yeah. So that'll be a good one for everybody to watch.
Okay.
yeah. Well,
Over to
giddy
you,
up.
Matt.
Over to you, Matt.
Well, I mean,
Actually, Peyton, do you have anything today? Any updates for anything? No updates?
Intern Blake left early today, but it was his birthday. So
Okay.
Was
Happy
it?
birthday
Yeah.
to,
How old's
to
that
intern
kid?
Blake.
yeah, it is.
No, happy birthday, intern Blake. Yep. I'm just disappointed I didn't know that and couldn't wish him a happy birthday in person. So, yeah, you'll have to hear it on the podcast.
No, there you go. Yeah, well, he's
He'll appreciate
having
the
his
shout out.
birthday dinner currently.
Birthday dinner.
Yeah, yeah.
So I mean, is it a special one or just another one?
It's special enough that he didn't want to hang around with us.
And
Understood.
I don't blame him.
No.
I've never taken my
Do
birthday
you
off.
celebrate like a birthday week? Yeah. Weekend?
I
Okay.
forget. I forget it's my birthday most of the time. I actually, yeah. Okay.
Start getting older.
25. That's so old.
You're so young. You're young.
She said that's ugly.
That's ugly.
I just started living at 25.
Yeah, man.
But you get it. I think
I
you're
was really
you're-
getting
I think you
into-
get your break on your car insurance at 25, right? Yeah.
Hey, there you
I think
go.
you do. Yeah. So there you go.
And then you have to
Keep it.
cover your own insurance at 26, health
Mm-hmm.
insurance.
Yeah.
That's right.
Have to come off mom and dad's. Yep.
Big. That's real big.
All right.
Cool. All right. Well, we will see everyone after this. Well, I guess
no.
a couple weeks with Mr.
With,
DeSabatino, but
Brian DiSabatino. Yeah.
session, we'll see all the senators and friends at Legislative Hall here in a couple weeks.
And I'll get you that.
I'm
that
heading
iPhone.
I'm heading to the phone house.
And I'll get you that iPhone. Yep.
Can't wait for the iPhone.
I need some
No more green
instructions.
bubbles.
Peace, everybody.
For the Record is recorded and produced by the Delaware State Senate Republican Caucus. You can find us with the DE Senate GOP handle on Facebook, Instagram, X, TikTok, and Threads. Discover more about our caucus on our website, senategop.delaware.gov.